Today we are thankful to have Joe here as our special guest as we explore I am enough.
with an exclamation point.
Yes.
And yes, you are.
Yeah. So, Jyotsna, we were just talking right before we started this session on what you did this past weekend,
Hmm.
and that evoked this topic for us. And I think it's such a powerful uh, phrase. So, tell us a little bit about how it came about.
Oh, wow. Um, Yesterday, I decided in the morning that I'm gonna have no humans day. Um, in this COVID times, what has been happening is my interaction with humans is not just across the screen, but also within myself.
Mm.
Um, Hugging my teddy bear, singing on virtual settings. While it's a journey, right? It takes energy. And I take one of these days, like, suddenly in the morning I would wake up and like, I am not gonna show up for anybody else. I'm just gonna show up for myself. And exploring what that looks like. And yesterday was a day like that. And as I was sitting down with myself, some of the times were just in silence, and some of it was in meditation, and some of it was in journaling. But I stayed away from inviting other human beings into my space
Mm.
as consciously as possible.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anjali, have you been doing any of that? Taking
Well,
that space?
not so much with being by myself or avoiding, any human interaction. I was just thinking as you were talking about this, how important connection is to me and connecting to other humans is to me. And then I was thinking, what would it be like to actually have a whole day where I don't reach out to another person or I don't allow for that reach to happen? I think it's a little bit, it feels like a little bit harder with you living with other people. I have my daughter and my husband and my mother-in-law close by. So I think a total, you know, resignation from people and kind of focusing on myself would be a little bit hard. But I'm
Mm,
now starting to imagine how that would feel like.
mm,
Mm.
Um, but I'm you know fascinated by that idea, and I would imagine that I would have to like actually go someplace else by myself to be able to do that. The total letting go for a day, just a day,
mm.
of needing any human interaction. You, April, what about you?
Um, to me, it just sounds so peaceful.
Doesn't it?
You know, I just put my head
Yeah.
there, like, oh yeah, that's great. As someone who traveled a lot, where I was traveling all the time, um, as a mom and different things, sometimes I had those moments by myself. You know, especially like evenings by myself, where I was got to able to shut down everything and just not interact.
Hmm.
And me as someone who's an ambivert, which I love people, but I recharge by being by myself.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious at the fact where my husband's like, "Oh, take a break, don't do anything, and do so with kids." And I'm thinking like, I need a moment just with just me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, so and I know when we talked about the blues earlier,
Mm.
like sometimes I have those moments where I just need to be in bed and cut off all um things where I don't want to answer the phone, like disconnect from social media, any of those things to just kind of like be
yeah,
by
yeah,
myself
yeah,
Mm.
for a
yeah,
moment as much as I can. But I have
Yeah.
a family, so I
yeah,
can't
Yeah.
completely uh turn things off
yeah,
anymore. But, my weekends are kind of those for me where
Mm.
I don't work. There's no interaction. Shut down where we do things where I connect a lot with nature.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
family and things where we're like, oh, we're gonna spend the day outside.
Mm.
And literally like we're outside all day.
Yeah.
And that gives me great joy and breath.
Yeah.
And it's kind
Yeah.
of like um, it's a different way to be like I'm enough. I don't need things
Mm.
um, to entertain the mind or the soul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what came up for me as you're talking about it. Another way of of seeing this, uh, maybe disconnecting, not necessarily from for a moment from other people, but disconnecting from things that distract us and stuff that distracts us and work that distracts us to just kind of be with. It could be about taking time to be with the people that you care about
Mm.
Mhm.
or being with nature. But
Oh.
Jyotsna, when you said about like the whole day of being by yourself, it's like it feels like such a luxury. But I do take the luxury every morning for the being by myself. Like my morning ritual, my
Mm-hmm.
cup of coffee, taken out to the patio, and just like being there with nobody to talk to for like
Yeah.
an hour. It's
Yeah.
like it's precious. So I suppose it doesn't have to be a whole day.
Yeah. And again, it's the enoughness, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is enough? How much enough is enough? We all get to put that value, the worth, the time, the duration, the efficacy, the task, the activity. We get to choose that. I think it's coming from that angle for me is like anything outside of me is not imposing anything on me.
Hmm. Hmm.
I am choosing to stay right here, right now, in the way that I want. There is nothing outside of me that needs attention,
Mm.
that's drawing my attention. And that I'm calling is enough. I mean, for me, inviting human beings, of course, yesterday when I was journaling, I was thinking about stories, I was thinking about situations like the human beings, the human aspect of it is there, but choosing those boundaries, making that choice intentionally and staying in that tension of choosing me and choosing others. And what's that pull? How much am I going to let myself get swayed with it, carried away by it? I think that was the intention
Yeah.
all day yesterday.
That's awesome. How did you come to this? Like, how did you develop this discipline and be able to be with that tension?
I honestly struggle with it every time, and that's why
Yeah.
I have to take that slot. I'm like, okay, I have to make it an attention. I have to devote myself to it. I do not like rules. I do not like structure
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
important to articulate that I am enough. It is a practice, a state of being, a mindset,
Hmm.
the
yeah,
complexities of those. And I don't know if one of you want to share like how you move between them.
um,
For me, it's an intentional reminder. And, you know, and Jyotsna was just mentioning that she has a sign uh, behind her, and actually now I can see it behind you. And I pulled up something that I had to create for myself as well uh, when I was going through the coaching program, because this is a hard one for me. It's always about, like seeing value in creating value for other people, doing something, um, action, I'm biased for action. So you feel like the only way that actually I'm creating value is by doing something. And I
Mm,
had to take a step back to say, and to remind myself that what I am is enough.
Mm.
What I know today is enough to do whatever it is that I have to do. Uh, and sometimes not doing anything is enough. And but it requires this reminder that's always sitting down behind me. Maybe I need to put it in front of me because I forget.
yeah.
Mhm. So,
And you, Joe? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
my question for Joe is when you come to terms with I am enough, because I know
Mm.
it's moving, right? Like sometimes you feel it and sometimes you don't. When you feel I am enough, like what does that give you?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull another one out here. So I have whole bunch of affirmations, and have you both ladies have seen. So I am the light of my life. Trusting that, as you were saying, Anjali, what I have is going to be enough today to help me make the decisions for the next moment tomorrow. And as you were saying, April, like there are waves, it's not a consistent experience at all.
Mhm.
And accepting that it's not going to be a consistent experience. Creating these reminders for myself around me that point me back into that path.
Mhm.
Especially in COVID times when our lives are so virtual and you have somebody that you love. Early on, April, you were saying, we all have blues. How do you hold that person in a virtual space?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I devised this, and like I have a teddy bear that sits like always is here at my desk, right? And I'm hugging as tightly as I would want to hug that person in that moment.
Hmm.
And that has to be enough for now. I am giving myself into that moment. And that has to be enough. That works for me. The person feels, I hope the person feels. And even if that person doesn't feel, whatever they get out of it is going to have to be enough. So I'm not
So,
going to give myself, um oh, I didn't do enough.
mm,
There's nothing I could do at that time. Like
Yeah.
that has to be it. So moving from that mindset to actionable embodiments and affirmations, reminders, and taking time to do that. April, I know you were wanting to say something. I just wanted to finish
no,
that.
I was just thinking for myself, and if I were to offer anything to someone else,
Mm,
is that, and the reason why I asked you that question is being mindful of
mm,
what you feel like when you, like, even if it's a moment
mm.
of when you felt like I am enough, uh, it it helps you remind, like, oh, you can get there again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you know and what do I need, what I truly need in place to feel that I am enough.
yeah,
And that's part of, like, removing that other noise.
yeah. It,
There's a
it
sense of freedom in that, no?
absolutely.
Tremendous freedom. Mm.
And it's such a heavy and loaded and deep and subject to interpretation, subject to each individual's journey and what that enough means, right? It's a sense of belonging for me, belonging to myself.
Mm,
First, before even I can let myself belong to this moment, belong to others, belong to this space, there is so much like, what are my values? Like, what that enough means? Where is it coming from? And every situation, as you said, April, like it shifts so much.
Mhm.
But coming back to it, like, what does enough mean? And seeing what are your patterns. Like, we are all cognitive beings, right? Like, what are your patterns, and which ones are you getting drawn into, what stories you are telling, which stories you need to rewrite. It starts whole bunch of process in
Yeah.
that. And it's such an entertaining just to watch that as a witness, watch that as a storyteller. How would you reframe, rewrite that story of
Mm,
enoughness? And how do you design in future based on enoughness? There's so much we can unpack there.
yeah.
Mm.
Well, this sounds like a conversation could go on
Mm,
for a very, very long time. But
mm,
such uh, beautiful, um, I think, visual you gave us of what it feels like and what it could look like
mm.
to feel enough, to know we are enough, especially right now. I think
Yeah.
and always. I mean, I think right now we're putting more attention to it. But I think this is a conversation that we should continue to have in another episode as well. But thank you, Jyotsna. Thank you so much for sharing your insights of the power of I am enough in our episodes today. And for you out there, might take some inner work, but know that you are enough.
Yes, you are.
Yes. And for people who are struggling, I would say, of seeing themselves as enough, because especially during this time when there's a heavy holiday season, um, I think we'll probably put some links in there to for you to go out and seek some help for yourself, or you want to, you know, just need a friend, message me.
Or
I'm
message
always
Do.
there.
me, or message Joe.
Yes.
Uh, we'll listen.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy these conversations and want more of them, or maybe you want to be part of our conversation, make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, and you'll be alerted when we go live again. And drop us a note about what you like about these sessions that we do, and if you'd like to be on our show. We'll see you again soon. Thank you,
Bye.
Joe.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
both.